I went to Adrian's office to find him, but I discovered that the man who never touched junk food had a half-finished cup of milk tea on his desk. His new female assistant was a fresh-faced recent graduate. I knew, right then, that his attention had wandered from our marriage. My fingertips traced the cool surface of the milk tea cup. Condensation still clung to its sides, trickling down between my fingers. The barcode sticker on the cup showed the account nickname of the person who ordered it. ISA. My mind immediately went to Adrian's new assistant, a recent college graduate named Isabel. I knew better than anyone how much Adrian despised these sugary drinks. His desk was always spotless, files arranged neatly by priority. Even the pens in their holder were sorted by thickness. Last fall, when everyone was posting online about their first milk tea of autumn, I had playfully shown him my phone, suggesting we join in the trend. He had frowned, pushing my phone away with an air of non-negotiable seriousness. That's all unhealthy junk food. Don't pick up bad habits like that. But now, this junk food was sitting brazenly on his desk. The lipstick stain on the straw not even wiped clean. A heavy, suffocating feeling settled in my chest. A cheerful female voice mingled with a man's low laugh drifted in from the hallway. I turned to see Adrian and Isabel walking in side by side. Isabel wore a light-colored dress, her hair in a high ponytail, her face exuding a student-like innocence. She was looking up at Adrian, saying something, her eyes sparkling like stars. The moment Adrian's gaze fell on me, the smile on his face faded, the curve of his lips stiffened, and he hesitated for a second. Isabel paused, then quickly realized who I was. She rushed over, reaching out intimately to take my arm, her voice sickeningly sweet. "Victoria, what brings you here?" I instinctively shifted away, avoiding her touch. Her hand froze in midair, the smile on her face faltering for a moment before she plastered on an even more enthusiastic expression. "Oh, by the way, weren't you and Mr. Quinn supposed to go to the art exhibition today? He already promised to take me along," he said, since I'm a recent graduate. As his assistant, I need to broaden my horizons. I ignored her and picked up the milk tea from the desk, turning to toss it in the trash. The color instantly drained from Isabel's face. She shot me a timid glance, then quickly looked at Adrian, her voice dropping to a small, whimpering tone. "Victoria, I'm so sorry. I was so careless today. I forgot to take the cup away. I didn't mean to mess up Mr. Quinn's desk." As soon as she finished, Adrian spoke, his tone as flat as if he were discussing a trivial matter. "It's fine. Just be more careful next time." I whipped my head around, staring at him in disbelief. I remembered it clearly. 2 years ago, an intern had been fired on the spot for not putting files back in the drawer before leaving, with Adrian citing her lack of professional rigor. The dull ache in my chest turned into a sharp, stabbing pain. I walked over and sat in the chair next to his desk. The moment I sat down, something felt wrong. The chair had been lowered. This chair was custom-made for me, on Adrian's orders, and placed right beside his own. Whenever I came to the office to keep him company while he worked late, I would sit here. The dimensions were perfect, my back resting comfortably against the support. In all these years, it had never been moved. I looked up at Isabel, who was standing nearby. She was half a head shorter than me and was now looking down, nervously twisting the hem of her dress. I understood everything. The emotions that had been building up inside me exploded. I shot to my feet, the chair screeching against the floor. This is infuriating. Why has someone moved my chair? Is this company so short on chairs that anyone can just sit in mine? Isabel flinched, burying her head even lower, her shoulders trembling as soft sobs escaped her. "I'm sorry, Victoria. I didn't mean to." Adrian frowned. "If you're in a bad mood, you shouldn't go to the exhibition today. We can go another time." He then turned to Isabel, his voice softening. "You can head home for the day." As if granted a pardon, Isabel whispered, "Goodbye, Mr. Quinn. Goodbye, Victoria," and practically fled the office. The door closed. Adrian walked over, his voice laced with exasperation. "What is wrong with you? Why are you throwing such a tantrum today? Isabel is just a young girl who just graduated. You don't need to target her like that." "Adrian, this is the first time you've ever shown such special treatment to another girl, over these little things. I can't believe you're getting jealous over something like this." It's actually kind of cute. Adrian chuckled and reached out to hug me. I didn't resist. His embrace still had the familiar scent, but a chill ran through me. Isabel and I have a purely professional relationship. She's just graduated, still has that student mentality, and hasn't shed some of her old habits. Don't hold it against her. How could I possibly have anything else with her? I promise. Outside of work, there will be nothing between us. He nuzzled the top of my head, his tone coaxing, exactly as it had been whenever he tried to soothe me in the past. But the crack in my heart just wouldn't mend. I didn't press the issue, but I couldn't ignore the undisguised excitement and deliberate closeness in Isabel's eyes whenever she looked at Adrian. It made my stomach churn. That was not the look of an innocent recent graduate. The next morning, an employee I knew at Adrian's company sent me a few screenshots from a social media feed. In the photos, Isabel was standing in front of a beautifully framed painting, smiling from ear to ear. The caption read, "The boss said I need to study art." The employee's message followed immediately. "Victoria, that art exhibition you and Mr. Quinn missed yesterday. Mr. Quinn spent $10 million to buy the artist's largest piece. I heard the painting was already sold, but he personally contacted the buyer and offered an extra $2 million to intercept the sale. As soon as he got it, he had it sent directly to Isabel's house." I let out a cold laugh and called the art gallery directly. That afternoon, the gallery delivered a vase from the same artist's collection, along with other merchandise, to Adrian's company, one for every employee. Everyone at Quinn Corp knew the message. The CEO's wife had declared that the CEO admired this artist so much he'd overpay to acquire his work. If they wanted a future at Quinn Corp, they'd better start appreciating it. The vase, a companion piece to the large painting, was delivered personally to Isabel. The message conveyed was that the CEO's wife said the vase and her painting were part of a series. They were only complete when displayed together. She should properly cultivate her artistic sense, lest she embarrass the CEO. The office fell silent, and then a wave of whispers erupted. Isabel's face flushed a deep red, from her cheeks all the way to her ears. She clutched the vase, her knuckles white, her head bowed so low it was almost touching her chest. She looked like she wanted the ground to swallow her whole. When Adrian returned from his meeting, Isabel, eyes red, went straight to his office. "Mr. Quinn, this is too valuable. I can't accept it. I really wasn't trying to compete with Victoria. She's misunderstood me." That evening, Adrian came home with Isabel. He frowned at me. "We need to talk about what happened today. Isabel genuinely likes that artist. Since you couldn't go to the exhibition and she was upset by you, I bought her the painting as compensation." It meant nothing else. Isabel stood behind him, clutching the vase, and looked at me timidly. Her voice was barely a whisper. "Victoria, I'm sorry. It was the first time I'd ever received such an expensive gift, and I got carried away and posted it online. It was my fault. I've brought the vase, and I'll return the painting to the company." Watching her on the verge of tears, I found it amusing. "Miss Isabel, we're both women. I may not see certain little schemes, or Adrian might pretend not to see them, but it's different with me. Don't treat others like fools, especially not me." "Victoria, what kind of way is that to talk? Can't you be civil? Why do you have to be so harsh?" Adrian's face darkened, and he stepped in front of Isabel. I ignored him, my gaze fixed on Isabel. I took the vase from her hands, turned, and threw it into the nearby trash can. Isabel's face went white, her lips trembled, and she couldn't speak. I turned to Adrian. "You're smart, and I'm not an idiot. Don't play these ambiguous games with me. If you really push me, things will get ugly for both our families." That night, in bed, Adrian turned to me, his voice weary. "Victoria, Isabel really is just a recent graduate. She's immature. Weren't you a bit too harsh on her today? She's in the professional world now. She should act like a professional. Her student status isn't a shield for crossing boundaries, and it's certainly not an excuse for you to indulge her." I turned to face him, my eyes filled with undisguised scorn. "Have you forgotten that intern from 2 years ago? You fired her on the spot for not tidying up her desk, citing a lack of professional rigor. Why didn't she get your understanding?" Adrian's throat moved, but no words came out. "Adrian, you're the one who's willing to make an exception for her. You know what's in your heart. You'd better stop now before this gets out of hand." It's really not what you think. Adrian's voice weakened. I don't care what I think. What matters is that Isabel has become your exception. That in itself is a massive boundary crossed. Before her, there was no such thing as an exception in your rulebook. I rolled over, my back to him. I don't want to say anymore. You think about it. Our relationship is more than just a marriage. Don't make things difficult for everyone in the end. Adrian fell silent. He knew better than anyone that our marriage was never just about love. He was the least favored son of the Quinn family. If it weren't for my family's resources backing him, he would never have secured his position as CEO. His relatives were still circling like vultures. One misstep, and years of his hard work would be for nothing. We weren't just husband and wife. We were allies in battle. We would rise and fall together. Adrian was a smart man. After that night, he transferred Isabel to another department. For the next month, he was a model husband. We seemed to have returned to being the perfect couple everyone envied. A month later, Quinn Corp held its anniversary gala. I wore a couture gown and walked in on Adrian's arm. Under the flash of cameras, we posed intimately. It was the most direct response to the recent gossip. People like us were always being watched. There was no room for error. After the gala, as we were leaving, we saw Isabel at the end of the corridor, kneeling and scrubbing the carpet. She wore a faded old dress. Her hair was a mess, and her face was etched with grievance. When she saw us, she looked up, her eyes instantly reddening, her voice choked with tears. Mr. Quinn. After the party, my colleagues said they were short-staffed and asked me to stay and clean the carpet. Adrian's face darkened. He strode over to her, his voice sharp with anger. Who told you to do this? Stop it. Get up. Isabel stood up timidly, her head bowed. In the car, Adrian slammed a file onto the passenger seat and turned on me. Furious. Victoria, I already did what you wanted and moved Isabel away from me. What more do you want? Why do you have to make things so hard for a kid who just graduated? We are innocent. The last incident was just someone deliberately tipping you off. You've handled things like this before. Can't you just let it go? Do you think picking on a kid doesn't lower your own standing? I watched his outburst and found it laughable. First of all, Isabel is in her 20s. She's an adult, not a kid. Second, you set the employee management rules at Quinn Corp. It's up to you, as the boss, to judge how they assign work and whether they're deliberately giving her a hard time. Do I really need to teach you that? I paused, staring at him. Finally, you need to remember that in my eyes, Isabel is worth less than a stray dog's hair. I would never be jealous of her, because she's not worthy. Adrian wanted to say more, but I turned away and looked out at the dark night. A dead silence filled the car. That night, Adrian packed a bag. The next morning, he left on a business trip with Isabel. I knew he was acting out of spite. Before he left, he had fired a large number of employees, citing work errors. The first to go was the executive assistant who had tipped me off, along with the department head who had assigned Isabel to clean the carpet. The day the assistant, Grace, left, the office was filled with regret. Over the years, Adrian had been rigid and inflexible. It was Grace who had smoothed things over, facilitating communication between him and the employees. Someone spoke up for her in private. It was obviously Isabel who wanted to kneel on the floor and play the victim. Grace clearly told her to send the carpet to a professional cleaner. How can this be Grace's fault? When Grace heard this, she just smiled faintly and said nothing. She had been with Adrian for years. In the end, she gave him one last shred of dignity. When I heard the news, I immediately had my assistant contact Grace and offered her a position at my family's company, with a better title and salary than Shed had at Quinn Corp. She was a capable person. She shouldn't have to pay for such nonsense. The news of Adrian firing a longtime employee for Isabel caused quite a stir within Quinn Corp. More and more employees started sending me information, mostly about Isabel. Everywhere she went, she would post on her social media picture of Adrian's profile, a scenic shot from their business trip, always with a vaguely suggestive caption, as if she couldn't wait to declare her victory to the world. I looked at the screenshots and just found it laughable. What did she think she had won? She had latched onto a man's momentary indulgence and thought she was something special. In my eyes, she wasn't even qualified to be my rival. A week later, Adrian finally returned. The housekeeper told me he was back. I was in the study, Working. I didn't even look up. Just gave a cool and kept my eyes on the screen. He lingered in the living room for a long time, pacing back and forth, before finally coming upstairs. He pushed the door open, his voice unnaturally stiff. Victoria, my parents want us to come over for dinner this weekend. My fingers paused on the keyboard. I looked up at him, a hint of mockery in my eyes. Oh, did they hear about the latest office gossip? Adrian's face darkened. He walked over and sat in the chair beside me, lowering his voice. My parents are old. They can't handle stress. When we're there, watch what you say. Don't worry them. I didn't reply, just let out a cold laugh and went back to my work. He really thought a simple watch what you say could cover up this whole mess. That weekend, we went to the Quinn family home together. Not long after we sat down, Adrian's mother spoke up. Adrian, we've heard the rumors about the company. What's going on with you and Victoria? Adrian immediately sat up straight, a gentle smile on his face. He reached out to put his arm around my shoulders, but I subtly moved away. His hand froze in midair, but he pressed on. Mom, don't listen to the gossip. Victoria and I are fine. Our relationship has always been stable. Is that so? I looked up, my gaze locking with his, my voice quiet but clear enough to carry across the living room. Adrian, do you even believe the words you're saying? His face changed instantly, a flicker of panic in his eyes. Victoria, let's talk about this at home. There's no need. I cut him off, took a file from my bag, and pushed it in front of him. The cover read, Divorce Agreement. This is the divorce agreement. I've already signed it. The division of assets is clearly outlined. What's mine? I'll take. What belongs to the Quinn family? I won't take a penny more. Adrian's pupils contracted. He picked up the agreement, his fingers trembling. Victoria, what is the meaning of this? You're divorcing me over someone who doesn't matter. It has nothing to do with her. I never even considered her. Adrian, you're a smart man. You should understand the nature of our marriage. I trust you're not stupid enough to have gotten physically involved with her. But I, Victoria Chin, do not tolerate disgusting things. Since I'm uncomfortable, it's better to make a clean break. Whatever little games you want to play with your kid. I'm sorry, but I don't have time to entertain you. Adrian shot to his feet, the agreement falling to the floor. He lunged forward to grab me, but I dodged him. He watched my resolute back, his voice filled with an unprecedented panic. Victoria, stop fooling around. We can't get a divorce. His parents also tried to persuade me, but I walked straight out the door, leaving them and Adrian behind. This game of alliance we called marriage was destined to end the moment he let his attention wander. Adrian followed me home, his voice frantic. Victoria, listen to me. There's really nothing between me and Isabel. I never touched her. It was just a moment of foolishness. I turned to him, saw the desperation in his eyes, and my voice was as calm as a still lake. I know. He was stunned, not expecting that. He was about to explain further when I raised my hand to stop him. But that's not the point. I pulled my wrist from his grasp, took out my phone, and showed him the screenshots of Isabel's posts. The point is, from the moment you didn't get angry about the milk tea on your desk, from when you ignored her lowering my chair, from when you fired Grace for her, you have been constantly breaking your own rules. You even allowed her to target me, whether it was out of a desire for novelty or because you thought she was innocent. None of those reasons hold up. I, Victoria Chin, do not fall for such things. And I certainly don't tolerate people playing these petty games in front of me. Adrian's face grew paler. He stumbled back, his voice hoarse. I just wanted you to be a little softer. I thought if you saw me being nice to someone else, you would care. You thought I would be like those wives who revolve around their husbands, crying and begging you to come back. Adrian, we've known each other for 10 years, been married for 5. You should know my character. I will not change for anyone. If you thought I was too strong, you shouldn't have married me in the first place. And you certainly shouldn't have used my family's power to secure your position as CEO. And you're not that shallow. You see Isabel's little schemes more clearly than anyone. You would never actually fall for her. Adrian's pupils constricted, as if I had hit a nerve. His lips moved, but no words came out. I continued. The only reason you gave her special treatment was to use her as a pawn to test my limits. You wanted to see if I would compromise because of your affair. If I would tolerate your nonsense for the sake of my family's interests. but I am a person who hates trouble more than anything. Our marriage was mixed with interests from the start, but there was also genuine affection. But when it started to involve testing and scheming, when I had to tolerate someone else's provocations, it became a hassle. And I, Victoria Chin, never make a losing deal. And I certainly don't waste my time on troublesome people and things. I took out another copy of the divorce agreement and handed it to him again. As for whether you and Isabel had a physical relationship, I don't care, and I can't be bothered to find out. Just sign it. Adrian grabbed my arm, his voice pleading. Victoria, I was wrong. I'll fire Isabel immediately. I'll never have anything to do with her again. Let's not get a divorce. Okay. I pushed his hand away forcefully. I knew that without Isabel, there would be another one in the future. He wanted a wife who would tolerate him unconditionally. I wanted a clean, hassle-free alliance. We were no longer compatible. Adrian didn't take the agreement. I left it on the table. Think about it. After you sign, have your lawyer contact me. I'll be moving into my own place soon. I'll have my assistant come and pack my things. He tried to block my way, but I stepped back. Don't force me to make things ugly. If it comes to that, the Quinn family's reputation and the position you worked so hard for will not be safe. For the next few days, I threw myself into my work. Adrian's calls came almost every 10 minutes, and his long messages flooded my chat. From apologies to promises, to reminiscing about our past. Every word was a desperate attempt to win me back. I didn't read a single one, nor did I block him. In the adult world, things are rarely black and white. We still had to interact in the business world, and the partnership between our families could not be severed because of a failed marriage. Making a scene wouldn't benefit anyone. Until one late night, after finishing the last document, I looked at the dozens of unread messages on my phone and suddenly realized that once the feelings were completely gone, nothing Adrian did could stir any emotion in me. His apologies, his pleas, were all just irrelevant noise. I opened the calculator and estimated the profits from Quinn Core recent projects and my family's share. Compared to these tangible benefits, that relationship, tainted with scheming and testing, was utterly worthless. Feelings were not even a fraction as important as making money. I turned off my phone, leaned back, and closed my eyes. From now on, I, Victoria Chin, would live only for myself and my family. That afternoon, I went shopping with a few friends. Ever since I announced my divorce, they had been insisting on taking me on a shopping spree. Just as we were about to leave a store, a slender figure rushed out from the side and grabbed my arm. It was Isabel. She wore a faded t-shirt and jeans, her hair a mess, her eyes bloodshot. She was a completely different person from the timid, calculating girl from before. I looked at her and pointed to the cafe next door. Let's talk inside. After ordering coffee, I thanked the waitress. Isabel stared at me and suddenly let out a sharp, mocking laugh. Victoria, you're still so arrogant. Even your thank you sounds so condescending. It's disgusting. My friend looked her up and down, her tone disdainful. Oh, so this is the other woman. Adrian must be blind, leaving a wonderful wife like Victoria for this trash. Isabel's face flushed, her eyes flashing with anger. But she held it back and just stared at me. I hate you rich people. Just because you were born lucky, you get to have everything. Her voice grew more agitated, her eyes reddening. My family favors boys. I almost couldn't even go to school. My parents wanted to marry me off to an old bachelor in our village for the bride price to get my brother a wife. I fought with all my might to get into college, and then to get an internship at Quincorp. The older employees were cold to me. They wouldn't even teach me how to file a document properly. But you, the moment you walked into the company, everyone was respectful, treating you like a queen. I just wanted to show you that anything you can have, I can have too. Mr. Quinn being nice to me was the best proof of that. I looked at her hysterical state and suddenly found it pathetic. I let out a cold laugh. The employees at Quincorp are nice to me because I'm the CEO's wife. Being pleasant to me makes their lives at the company easier. It's a transaction, not some innate privilege. Those senior employees had no obligation to help you. People who want to learn will watch and learn on their own, not wait for knowledge to be fed to them. Besides, they were just cold to you. They didn't bully you or harm you. Why should they pour their hearts out to you? I was never naive enough to think that anyone had a natural obligation to be nice to me. If you want to be treated well, you either need power, influence, or the ability to bring others benefits. You have no background, no ability, and you think the whole world should revolve around you. Why should anyone be nice to you? My words left Isabel pale, her lips trembling. You're divorcing Mr. Quinn now because you can't stand his emotional affair. Right. You lost. Whether Adrian and I divorce is between us. It has nothing to do with you. You don't even register as a blip in my life. Don't flatter yourself. I stood up and placed $100 bills on the table. This is for you. Since Adrian has already fired you, you probably can't afford this coffee. Isabel swayed, her eyes glaring at me, about to say something more. I glanced at my watch. Sorry. I've already wasted too much time on you today, I added, in a flat tone. If what you said about being forced to marry an old bachelor is true, I can help you call the police. But as for anything else, don't even think about it. I linked arms with my friends and left. Isabel collapsed in her chair, grabbing her hair and screaming in frustration. Adrian still refused to sign the divorce papers. Every time I had my lawyer contact him, he would either use a business trip as an excuse or just ramble on the phone, avoiding the topic. After half a month of this, I finally decided to visit his parents again. Sitting in their living room, I held my teacup, my voice calm. Uncle, Auntie, I came today to make it clear that my divorce from Adrian is final. Rest assured, even after the divorce, the partnership between our families will not be affected. Quinn Corp is a leader in the industry, and I won't let a failed relationship jeopardize my family's business. Please, talk to Adrian. Tell him not to be so stubborn. His mother held my hand, her face full of sorrow. Victoria, Adrian really knows he was wrong. There was nothing between him and that Isabel. Can't you just give him another chance? I pulled my hand away and gently shook my head. Auntie, it's not about giving him a chance. It's that I find the thought of continuing to live with him disgusting. With that, I stood to leave. As I reached the entryway, I ran into Adrian, who was rushing home. He saw me, his eyes instantly reddening, and he hurried over to grab me. Victoria, why are you here? Did you change your mind? I avoided his hand. It's a good thing you're back. Saves me a trip. Tomorrow, 9 a.m., at the city hall. Let's get the papers signed. His face went pale. He clenched his fists. His voice choked. I'm not going. I won't divorce you. I really don't want a divorce. Victoria, give me one more chance. I'll change. I'll never let you be wronged again. I'm the one who wants the divorce. What you want doesn't matter. Adrian, don't make me hate you. I cut him off, my tone final. I turned and left without a second glance. Perhaps his parents' persuasion worked, or perhaps he finally accepted reality. 3 days later, Adrian's lawyer contacted me, saying he had agreed to sign. The day we finalized the divorce, the wind was a bit strong. Adrian wore a black suit, his hair neatly combed, but the bloodshot veins in his eyes were impossible to hide. He took the divorce certificate, his fingers trembling slightly, and suddenly looked up at me. Victoria, I'm sorry. I was foolish before. I shouldn't have used Isabel to test you. I shouldn't have broken my own rules. I raised my hand to stop him. I didn't need your apology before the divorce, and I certainly don't need it now. With that, I turned and left him standing there alone. After the divorce, I immediately joined my family's company, starting from the bottom and slowly taking over the business. To everyone's surprise, my partnership with Quinn Corp not only continued but became even stronger. Every time we negotiated, Adrian would offer terms that were too good to refuse, either lowering supply prices, giving up the largest profit margins, or even taking on all the risk. I, of course, had no argument with money. I took everything he offered. But this kind of loss-making behavior soon drew the ire of Quinn Corp shareholders. After several contentious board meetings, he was eventually removed from his position as CEO and replaced by his ambitious cousin. The next time I saw Adrian was at my wedding. I was in my white gown, making the rounds with my new husband. From a distance, I saw Adrian in the crowd. He had lost a lot of weight and looked haggard, completely out of place among the cheerful guests. When he saw me adjusting my husband's tie, his face went pale. He rushed over, grabbed my wrist, his eyes red. Victoria, if you're willing, It'll take you away right now. I can start a new business. It'll make sure you live a good life. Why would I go with you? My life now is perfect. My husband is not only from a prominent family, but he can also be a huge asset to my career. What would I get by going with you? You're not the CEO, Adrian, anymore. He swayed, the light in his eyes instantly dying. He took a thick red envelope from his pocket, pressed it into my hand, and said, utterly defeated, "Congratulations on your wedding." He turned and left, his back stooped, like a deflated balloon. I watched him go, my heart completely unmoved. All I wanted to do was open the envelope and count the money. Beside me, Leo smiled and ruffled my hair. Such a gold digger. I looked up at him and smiled. Of course. A gift that comes to my door, it would be a waste not to take it. As for Adrian, he was just a passerby in my life, a former business partner. His joys and sorrows, his regrets and guilt, had nothing to do with me anymore. From now on, my life would only move toward a brighter, richer future, perhaps spurred by my words. After being sidelined at Quinn Corp, Adrian refused to fade away. He scraped together some money to start a new venture. He thought that with his family's connections and his experience, a comeback would be easy. But without the halo of being the Quinn Corp CEO, and after a series of bad decisions, he lost everything in less than 6 months. Creditors were at his door every day. His parents had to sell their shares in Quinn Corp to cover his debts. But it was a drop in the ocean. After selling the shares, the Quinn family completely lost their say in the company. They were kicked out of the core management, and even their old mansion was mortgaged. I later heard that Adrian could only find a regular sales job. His monthly salary barely enough to cover his living expenses, let alone the interest on his loans. Before long, the mansion was repossessed by the bank and auctioned off. He moved with his elderly parents into a small, cramped apartment in the suburbs. When it rains, it pours. His brother had married into a decent family thanks to the Quinn name. Now that the family had fallen, his in-laws were disgusted and were pressuring their daughter to divorce him. The family was in constant turmoil. His brother blamed Adrian for everything. The two of them fought every day, and his parents were at their wits' end. As for Isabel, after being fired by Adrian and blacklisted by him, she was unemployable. She drifted in the city for a few months. Her savings quickly ran out, and she could no longer send money home. Her parents, who had thought she was making it big in the city and were counting on her to save up a dowry for her brother, came from their hometown when they realized she was no longer useful. They dragged her from her rental and sold her to that old bachelor in their village for a bride price of $180,000 for her brother's wedding. It was the company's monthly cleaning day. In addition to the regular janitors, we had hired an external team for a deep clean. To avoid disrupting work, we always paid extra for them to come after hours. I was 7 months pregnant and feeling heavy, so I usually just made a brief appearance at the office and went home to rest. Today, I had to deal with an urgent contract and stayed until evening. Just as I finished packing, Leo arrived. He was helping me out when we heard a sharp female voice down the hall. "Hurry up. The boss paid a lot for this. I had to pull strings to get this job. Don't you drag me down." Then, a timid, weary voice replied, "Mom, my belly feels a bit heavy. I can't go any faster." Heavy. It's just a pregnancy. Who hasn't been pregnant? When I was carrying my son, I was still harvesting wheat in the fields. Get a move on. After this, we have to go home and cook for my son. If you can't give me a grandson this time, you'll see what I do to you. I paused and looked in the direction of the voices. At the end of the hallway, a young woman in a janitor's uniform was scrubbing the floor on her knees, her belly swollen. She looked to be about as far along as I was. And standing next to her, an old woman had her hands on her hips, glaring at her with disgust. The young woman seemed to feel my gaze and slowly looked up. The moment our eyes met, hers widened in shock. Her lips trembled, and she couldn't speak. It was Isabel. Her face was sallow. Her dry hair stuck to her cheeks. The old, oversized uniform was stretched tight over her protruding belly. She was a shadow of her former self. She stared at me, then at Leo, who was carefully supporting my arm. Tears suddenly welled up in her eyes, and her shoulders began to shake uncontrollably. "What are you crying for?" "I'm an old woman, and I'm out here working to save up for your son's milk powder. And you have the nerve to cry. Get back to work. Her mother-in-law, seeing her tears, flew into a rage and shoved her. Isabel stumbled, nearly falling. The tears flowed faster. Her eyes filled with despair and resentment as she stared at me. I didn't even give her a second glance and walked past her with Leo. Her gaze was like a needle on my back, but I felt nothing. In the car, I took out my phone and sent a message to my secretary. Contact today's cleaning company. Tell them not to send those 2 janitors to the company again. They're an eyesore. After sending the message, I put my phone away and turned to Leo. He was leaning over, carefully fastening my seatbelt, his voice gentle. Why did you stay so late today? Are you tired? What do you want to eat? How about I take you to that barbecue place you love? Sounds good. The baby is craving something savory today too. I smiled and patted my belly. You're the one who's craving it, using the baby as an excuse. Oh, shut up. Just then, the little one inside me gave a small kick. Not strong, but distinct. Leo and I looked at each other and couldn't help but laugh. The night grew darker outside, and the soft glow of the streetlights filled the car. I leaned back, feeling the baby move, listening to the man beside me quietly planning what dishes to order for me. My heart was filled with a sense of peace and happiness. As for Adrian's downfall and Isabel's misery, they were just passing clouds, no longer able to stir the slightest ripple in my heart. My life had turned a new page. That terrible past deserved to be left there, forever.